In this video, I'm answering the question on how to create radio buttons. I've entered the programming library, clicked on Documents, and Create New. I'll call this form Radio Buttons, and click Save. When I go into the first page, I'll get the document editor. I'll update the title. I want to create 5 rows of yes/no radio buttons, so I'll put them in a table. I'll need to create my first radio button group, so let me name it Radio Button Group 1, and let this be the yes button. I'll need something similar for the no button. Radio Button Group 1 and the no button. I'll need to do this for the other 4 rows. As you can see, I copied and pasted the yes/no radio buttons but changed the group number. So in the second row, there's Radio Button Group 2 with its yes, and the corresponding Radio Button Group 2 with its no. Now I'll save the radio buttons. When I do so, you'll see the fields appear, and when they do, they're all default to the type General. I'll need to change the General default to the type Radio Buttons, but before I do so, I'll need to create radio button groups. Radio button groups allows me to group radio buttons, so I know I need a Radio Button Group 1 for the first set, select Type Radio Button Group, and click OK. I can then assign Radio Button Group 1, the no, to be a radio button. It's going to ask me which radio button group does it belong to, which is 1. Some quick tips. When you're working with radio buttons, it's best to click the unit's auto and let it size itself. And let's change the label to no. I'll click OK. I'll do the same for the second radio button, the yes button. This is also a radio button, belongs to the Radio Button Group 1. I can specify what value goes in here, otherwise the default value will be RBG1 yes. So I can say yes in here if I wanted to. Let's change the label to yes. I'll finish the other 4 radio buttons. Okay, welcome back. I've gone through and updated all of my fields. So let's look at Radio Button 5 yes. You can see I assigned it to Radio Button Group 5, the Radio Button Group. It basically went through and changed the labels and things like that. So now let's test. I can see I have an error on the radio button no, so I'm going to fix that and fix its label and test. I can also see that the fields are not accessible by the first party, so let's make them so. Select party, select the different radio button groups so that the first party can access them, and test. When I test, I'm checking to see that the radio buttons that I've grouped together behave so. So if I select yes on row 1 and then select no on the same row, then the yes on row 1 should be unselected as expected. I'll go through and verify that all my radio buttons on each row behave correctly. Before I go, here's a quick tip on radio buttons and the naming conventions I use. When I create radio buttons, I usually prefix them with RB for radio button, followed by the group name. Then the actual radio button selections like male and female in this case. The reason why I do that is in my fields list, the fields appear alphabetically and grouped nicely for me. Here I can see RB gender is the radio button group, followed by the selections, radio button female and male. Let's look at RB gender female. I specify the value of this field when selected to be female. The reason why I do that is that when selected, when female is depressed, the value in RB general is set to female, which is useful when looking at the data. And that's it. Thanks for listening.